Okay, this time it's recording. So, we are in the center of Asuncion in Paraguay, and I just want to show people what it's like here. This is my second time being here over the past few years. First time I came here was during the pandemic, and I came back just to escape modern Europe and to find somewhere peaceful. And for me, even though this country has a lot of flaws, we might say, at the same time, it's a good place to come to if you want to get away from the Western world and all the problems that are going on there and the hustle and bustle of the so-called developed world. And I know, Paraguay leaves a lot to be desired, but at the same time, it has a lot of good qualities too, but it's definitely very, very underdeveloped. So, I'm in pretty much the center of the capital city now. So this is the most developed part of this entire country. And this country is really almost entirely undeveloped. There are patches of civilization. There are a few urban centers surrounding here. I'm near Juan, what's his name? Juan O'Leary Park. There's Juan O'Leary Avenue, I think, or Juan O'Leary Plaza, which is just up here, a few hundred meters up here. And this is the old center of Asuncion. And yeah, even the center of the capital, it's only a few hundred meters of developed urban center over not much space, and a lot of the buildings even in the center of the center are in disrepair, we might say. And as is common around anywhere in Paraguay you go, there are either dirt roads and there isn't even any sidewalk, or else all the sidewalks are smashed to pieces, and it's really not a very pedestrian friendly country. To get around you need to get taxis or take buses, and if you're going to be taking buses in this country, you better be comfortable being crammed into a lot of space in a very, very warm, confined bus with a lot of people. Taxis here are relatively inexpensive compared to other parts of the world, but at the same time, if you're not wealthy and you don't have money to be thrown to taxi fares all the time, so that can eat into your funds. So I don't really do that. I like to walk around mostly when I can, but for that you need to be staying somewhere relatively central, and at the moment anyway I am staying somewhere central, and I just wanted to show people the center of Asuncion. Got lots of little stalls on the side of the road here. We got some shops around the place, and got some relatively friendly people. If you look like me, if you're a tall white dude with a red beard, people are definitely going to stare. But you have to get used to that here if you stand out, you know what I mean? Because there aren't so many extra-neros in this country. Definitely people like me are an oddity. So yeah, you just got to be okay with some people gawking some of the time. So some of the benefits of being here, at the moment, the euro is very strong against the local currency, the guarani. You can see the less than optimal exchange rates here. At the moment, it's probably better for me to use a debit card or a credit card, because the guarani is something like 9,200 guarani to the euro at the moment, which is, I think, the all-time high as far as exchange rates in favor of the euro. So your euros go a long way here, at least at the moment. So I like the food here. It's very laid back. You know, like you might not want to come here if you're like into a hustle and bustle lifestyle. If you're into, you know, like having nightlife where you're out on the town every night. There are some nice buildings though, like in the center of Asuncion. I don't know what this building is, but this is probably the most impressive building I've seen since I've been here. There are like guards, armed guards in like traditional kind of like army or navy type attire, and they're always guarding this building, holding like rifles with bayonets. And just the environment around here, you know, like there are parks. So this is like the central plaza, Juan Emilio O'Leary Plaza, and if you can't tell by the name, obviously that's an Irish name. So yeah, he was a historian who drew a lot of positive attention to the ex-leader of the country. I forget his name and rank at the moment, but Lopez anyway. The guy was the leader of the country during the War of the Triple Alliance, which led to the genocide of something like 90% of the male population in Paraguay. But Juan Emilio O'Leary was someone of Irish ethnicity who had a big part in the revival of like a positive memory of Lopez. So, you know, like he's a historical figure in Paraguay that's fairly important and well respected. No, gracias. So yeah, like people on the street, like trying to get my attention, like asking me if I want something from them, or like I think that guy was like shining shoes, but I'm wearing like old cheap sneakers, so I don't know how effective shoe shining is if you're wearing old cheap Nike sneakers. But you know, like we have Juan Emilio O'Leary Plaza here. You can maybe walk around this. This is like the proper center of Asuncion, but as I said, you know, there are little urban centers like dotted around the city, but they're fairly spread out. So, you know, between here and what I guess San Lorenzo would be another little urban center, and there's like Luque, and there are a few parts of Asuncion that are like relatively built up compared to the rest of it. But yeah, like most of Asuncion is definitely not very built up, and there are like big gaps where there's literally nothing but a broken sidewalk and residential areas, and like this little workout area here and a little playground. But yeah, this is Juan Emilio O'Leary Plaza. I think there might be a statue of the man himself over here, so we can just walk around. You know, there are plenty of trees here as well. Like as I said, this country is not super well developed as far as like infrastructure, and there's not a lot going on, but there are plenty of trees, there's plenty of nature. If you get out into the sticks a bit, there is plenty of wildlife. So hold on, I think this is Juan Emilio O'Leary, like a bust of him. I believe it's a bronze, I don't know what it's made out of, but it's got that greenish tinge, so I'm gonna assume that it's made out of bronze. But yeah, like this park is nice anyway, and even in the center of Asuncion, it is very laid back. And this is it's about 3 o'clock in the day on a Tuesday. So you know, it doesn't really get much busier than this, I guess, unless it's on a Saturday. You know, you'd have like little street markets, and there are little stalls, and it's like a little bit of a market. But at the same time, it's definitely busier on Saturdays and more built up on Saturdays. So I guess I can come back into the city and just record how things are on the weekends at some point as well. But I just wanted to give people an idea of how things are around here. Very, very laid back, away from the hustle and bustle of Ireland, away from the Western world generally, and it's very, very different here. Life is, lived at a different pace. There is plenty of poverty here, but compared to Colombia anyway, there are far fewer apparent homeless people. If you've ever been to Medellin, you might notice in the center of Medellin, and obviously the population density is much higher in Medellin, but you might notice if you're somewhere like La Candelaria in Medellin, El Centro in Medellin, there are a lot of homeless people everywhere, just like lying on the ground in the middle of the sidewalk, constantly. So yeah, here it's very different. There are obviously a lot of poor people. You see homeless people regularly when you are out and about the city, but at the same time, compared to Colombia, there are far fewer homeless people here, far fewer street vendors, and the street vendors that there are a lot less aggressive as far as like trying to sell you garbage that you don't need. There's a lot less of a culture of criminality. There's a lot less criminality here in general, a lot less violent crime, a lot less apparent drug dealing on the streets, as compared to other parts of Latin America. I'll just cross the road here. No, gracias. Unless some guy trying to sell me a watch. I don't need a watch. And I left my goddamn Apple Watch in Sao Paulo, so I'm an idiot for that, but I didn't have much sleep, and I was staying in a hotel for not very long. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to record a little video in the center of Asuncion and just show people a little bit what it's like here. So yeah, again, as I said, fairly laid back. One thing I like about this place is the food and the cost of living. Very low cost of living and decent quality food, especially if you eat a lot of meat like me. Like the beef here is good and relatively low price compared to other parts of the world, and better quality than in Colombia, because when I'm in Colombia I have difficulty finding fatty cuts of meat. Like ideally I would like to eat a ribeye, that's like my favorite food, and getting fatty cuts of meat in Colombia as far as beef, it's not so easy usually. So here I find that you can get better cuts of meat, fattier cuts of meat, and the price of beef here is probably lowest cost for the best quality out of anywhere that I've ever been. Even back home in Ireland, we've got good quality beef there, but at the same time, it's not so cheap as in Ireland. So yeah, I just wanted to make a short video for today anyway. Show a little bit what it's like in and around Juan Emilio O'Leary Plaza in the center of Asuncion on a Tuesday afternoon. So that's it for now. Catch you all later.